Hello and welcome. This is Little Wave with your stars within. I promised you a micro chakra psychology video, and here we are. I had done an intro to the chakras for you before, and today I want to go a layer deeper. And so, what we're going to talk about is micro chakra psychology. So, this is a very vast system. This expands upon the chakras, which are already very vast to fully understand, in a way that is really unheard of. This is the most complex developmental theory available in all of the psychology that's available. This is by far the most complex. And so I obviously cannot in one video introduce you to all of it, but I'm going to do my best to give you just a sense of what it's about and enough to maybe start to put it to use. We'll see. Definitely, hopefully enough to be interested to learn more. So a lot of this theory, part of this theory is that it's a developmental theory, meaning that it talks about from in utero through birth, through early childhood, and then through all of the life. So it talks about how humans evolve through these stages of consciousness. And each one of these stages of consciousness, which relates to a chakra, has a certain motivational pattern, what that person seeks in life. So just starting at the birth, this theory says a whole lot about how children should be birthed. And sadly, in our modern westernized world, we are blocking 50% of the chakras just in the way that we're birthing. And so, through the natural birth, the top of the head is stimulated and the energy starts to flow downward. And so as the energy descends, it descends down the right channel. There's 3 channels. There's the right channel, the left channel, and the central channel. And the energy descends down the right channel. This theory primarily focuses on the right and the left channel. So it descends down the right channel as the baby, it's stimulated as the baby is born. And when it gets all the way to the base, which takes about 3.5 years, the right channel is set. That's how it is. The openings and blocks, those are the openings and blocks that the person will have throughout their whole life. And so the struggles that we have are very much embedded in the blockages that we're carrying. The energy then ascends, coming back up the left channel. And that takes another 3.5 years. And so it's the left channel that we can affect. The acts we do, the spiritual work we do, the mantras we do, the work that we do, we're trying to open the left channel. We're doing all kinds of things unknowingly, trying to open certain blocks. We might get on a motorcycle, or we might listen to certain types of music, and we might be really trying to vibrate something. Whether it's working or not, it's stimulating that area, and it's making us want to get that open. Sometimes people walk heavy on the heels. They're trying to open a first microchakra block. Sometimes people talk incessantly. They're trying to open a 5th microchakra block. So these things are happening, openings and closings, whether we understand it or not. And so we will go through developmental stages. And each age takes about 6 to 7 years. And so it takes women 6 and men 7. So 42 years for a woman to go through all 7 stages of development, and then 49 years for men to go through all stages of development. So 1st through 7th chakra. So now remember, in each chakra, there's a right channel, a left channel, and a central channel. Every chakra then has a microchakra of all the other chakras within it. And it actually has it in each channel. So for example, in the 1st chakra, there's the 1st microchakra of the 1st chakra. There's the 2nd microchakra of the 1st chakra. There's the third microchakra of the first chakra, fourth microchakra of the first chakra, all the way to seventh microchakra of the first chakra. That's true for the second chakra. So in the second chakra, there's the first microchakra of the second chakra, the second microchakra of the second chakra. Okay, I think you understand. So there's 7 microchakras in each channel. So there's 21 microchakras per chakra, leading to 147 microchakras. And we're primarily dealing with right and left channel blocks. And what these are telling us is that, well, it's telling us a few things. Just to have the representation of the other chakras present in each chakra is such a wonderful gift. So for example, let's just take that first chakra. That's the chakra about the body. It's about survival. It's our food body, right? We eat, it becomes this body. We die, this body becomes food. And so, you know, the 1-1 is the first microchakra of the first. Do we know how to use this body? All the openings are best used when 1-1 is open. And how would we have indications that 1-1 is open? Well, rhythms. Health and body related rhythms are aligned with natural rhythms. So for example, do we rise before the sunrise? Are we up during the sunrise? Because that's the natural cycle. And we might think, oh, we have our own cycles or our own patterns, but the natural cycle, right, the sun is a much more significant planetary body than I. So my little rhythm is not going to be as important or not give me as much benefit as aligning to the sun's rhythm. There's a humility to that. And you know, if you go camping, you sleep outside ever, you know that you tend to wake up with the sun or before the sun, you hear the birds chirping. That in the natural world, without the electricity messing with our pineal gland and the serotonin, melatonin, that we wake with the sun. So rhythms like this, there's multiple types of rhythms that match with different planetary bodies. 1-2, what is the relationship we have with our body? Do we take care of it, or do we put it through all sorts of pain? Do we put it through all sorts of, not caring about it? The ego of the body, the 3, right? How do we assert within the body? How do we get its needs met? You know, do we have a sense of ourselves? The 4th, the heart of the first chakra. Do I love this body? Do I care for this body? So you see, so there's this representation in everything. It's so important actually that we have the 6th microchakra in everything, because that's our wisdom. So, you know, do I know what this body needs? Can I intuitively sense what it needs? Oh, I need to eat more of this right now, or more of that right now. That attunement. So although we talked about, I think, in the chakra video about how most people are in chakras 1, 2, and 3, which is a grouping called the Lenga. So the first Lenga, chakras 1, 2, and 3. Most people are in that grouping. Their consciousness is primarily motivated through survival, relationships, and, you know, power, or establishing oneself and your social role. We're very identified by these things. I'm this body, I'm this in this relationship, I do this in life, right? These are our core identities. But we have access, even if we can't get up to that 4th chakra just yet in a full level of consciousness, right? Because that's a love consciousness. That's a consciousness that's able to be maintained. We're able to access that compassion and that love in a smaller way, but in an accessible way, through the 4th of the first, 4th of the second, 4th of the third. Loving this body, loving the other's body, loving the other person, loving humanity. I'm able to do that through the 4th microchakras that are available. Now these blocks, these blocks cause us a lot of struggle. If we're blocked on the right, which we can't change, that's from our childhood, early childhood, and we're blocked also on the left, we're going to really experience the challenges of that. If we can start to get some of that light in through those microchakras, we're going to feel a lot of relief. And so, I couldn't go through in great detail each one of these microchakras because it would take us a very long time. Maybe that's something in the future we could talk about if there's interest, taking it one by one. But these kind of blocks these are the suffering of our lives. These are the struggles of our lives. Whether it's the anxieties, whether it's the feelings of not being able to get along well with others, not fitting in well, not being able to care for ourselves or support ourselves or get a true stability for ourselves. Because each one of these chakras needs to be satiated. It wants to be content. Then that consciousness can rise. And obviously we're rising anyway, right? This is very similar to other developmental theories like Erik Erikson, where we leave some psychological energy behind, even though we keep developing. And then we hit a certain point, kind of an adolescent type age, that we can't develop any further till we go back and fix and correct and open some of this energy so that it can flow. Now, this is where the concept of the saboteurs and the champions come from. And I think that's important to understand with microchakras. So sometimes the microchakras will link up. If they're blocked, they might link up and work together, creating what's called the saboteur pattern, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's a struggle, it sabotages you from within. So if your 1-1, 2-1, and 3-1 are blocked, that's all the first microchakras. They're going to link up and make a triangle. Add your 4-1, it's going to make a square, right? So these are patterns of intensity. These patterns have force, they have intelligence, they assert themselves within us and make it very difficult to overcome. And these patterns, sometimes we feel like, oh, I know what I need to be doing, or, oh my gosh, am I ever going to stop struggling with this issue? Whatever that issue is, whether it be food or anxiety, depressions, relationship patterns, because these patterns of energy become patterns of thought. Your thoughts, your mind is a receiver more than it's a creator. Ask any innovator, anybody who's ever had an aha, a creative type or creator, right? They say, I received this vision. So you're receiving this thought or this thought pattern from your energy pattern. And then thought pattern turns into emotional pattern. So if my energy pattern is really hard on my sense of self, maybe I don't feel like I deserve to even be here. I don't know where I belong. I can never seem to connect with people. If that's in my energy pattern, then I have thoughts like, oh, they're not going to like me anyway. Oh, I shouldn't have even come. Nobody's even talking to me, right? I'm going to have these patterns. I could have other patterns. I could notice, oh, people are in conversations with people they already know. I'm new here. Or I could have thoughts like, oh, I should go say hello to some people and start stirring that conversation. Oh, I really like that person's shoes, purse, hat, whatever. Let me go tell them. But I don't have those thoughts. I have thoughts that are like, see, I knew I shouldn't have come. This never works out. Nobody really likes me. And then this results in behaviors. So if I'm thinking that way, what am I going to do? I'm going to sit and I'm going to look sulky. What's the look on my face going to look like? It's going to look like the emotion I'm having, right? If I have thoughts like, oh, I really want to talk to that person. I bet that they're going to be very excited to hear this. And I go over and I'm like, hi, and I introduce myself and I'm chatty. I'm going to have a much different response than if I'm sitting by myself and I'm like stirring my food or drink and I look kind of negative. People are going to be not very inclined to come talk to me. So it becomes this self-creating cycle. So we go from an energy pattern to a thought pattern to an emotional pattern to a behavioral pattern. And then we say, oh, gee, the problem's in the behavior. Let's try to fix it at the behavioral level. We can try to fix it at the behavioral level. But if I feel so sulky and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go say hi to people. I'm going to go smile. Hi. It's not the same, or it's just a harder effort because the physical level is dense. This is a 3D density. If I change it at the energetic level, I feel light. The thoughts are positive. I feel positive, and I naturally, instinctively, spontaneously act positive. I think we both know which one's a quicker shift. So these saboteur patterns are really challenging. They're very, very hard to break up. And so if you have felt like you've been working on this pattern that you've noticed about yourself for a long time, good for you. You're bringing consciousness to something. That's a very important step. You're not going to change something you're not aware of. But now actually changing it can be quite a task, depending on how complex. You might have a pentagon of this saboteur. And it would be very, very difficult, and it can cause very severe types of issues. If we have a pentagon, we can have a real hatred of our body, not wanting to feed it or take care of it or really talk very mean. And so we need to start breaking up the saboteur pattern, because you can fight it, right? If you're in the ring and you're a boxer or something, and you're fighting a really strong opponent and you're giving it everything you've got, I'm not saying that you're not doing something, and I applaud the effort. But if that opponent was weakened, wouldn't that be better? Because then all that effort that you're giving it can go so much further. And so this is what the microchakra psychology offers, is how to reduce the strength of the saboteurs. The number one way is through purifications. And they're consistent, they're seasonal. It's a dietary protocol with sound and education. As you slowly reduce, it's taken a long time for the strength of these saboteurs to build. We have to understand that this isn't like a quick fix, because it wasn't a quick problem. And so over time, we do these purifications along with getting the rhythms right and the things that lower apana. Many of you, especially if you're in yoga, have probably heard the word prana, which loosely translates to life force. We often think of it as breath, but it's not the breath itself, it's the life force in the breath. And there's 5 different types of pranas in the body. They do different things, but they're the life force taking action in 5 different ways. And so the apana prana is what we're calling the negative, but it's not actually negative. It does a very important job in the bowels, and it helps with elimination and purification. The problem is that it rises too high. And as it rises, it causes major mental health symptomology. Also, when people are maybe going to this practitioner or that one, they're trying to open their kundalini and, whatever, do all these things to open consciousness and open chakras. It's unwise, because if the apana prana gets higher, you can have major, major challenges. This has been well documented, the dangers of opening higher chakras underprepared. This is why the tradition has a lengthy preparation. This is why the tradition has a teacher. So this isn't for the, faint of heart. This isn't for the weak. This isn't for the one who just wants a quick fix. This is for a person who has built some level of integrity, some level of discipline, some level of grit. It will probably take your self-mastery and your discipline to a new level, because that's what really has to be built. But we have to be ready for that. We have to learn how to learn. We have to be ready to put some effort in over a longer period of time. Because most of the information out there about chakras is very, very watered down. We have to understand this. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's getting the concept familiar in the West. It's sprinkling it. Just like the physical yoga. The physical yoga was a much later development. It's really a prerequisite for the spiritual work, because the body needs to be still. The spine needs to be healthy, and the body needs to be able to be completely still for very long periods of time. Once we get the body still, right, then we do pranayamas, breathing exercises. Again, still kind of a prerequisite. We're getting breath control and we're learning to discipline the mind to focus on the breath. And then we start getting to a more one-pointedness focus and what's called pratyahara, the ability to internalize the senses. Now we're starting to move towards true meditation. So a lot of what we understand and what we think, and we're like, oh, I'm in the 7th chakra. No, we're not. Saints are in the 4th. So we have to be humble if we really want to understand this work. Now, on the other hand, we have champion patterns. Champion patterns are just like the saboteurs, but they're with our openings or semi-openings. It can be, pinhole open and slowly, 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 sort of like the phases of the moon. But with some of those openings, they link together and they can create champions. Those champions, those are our strengths. Those are our assets. That's what's working for us. But sometimes we have a saboteur pattern and a champion pattern. Sometimes we can have a 6th microchakra champion and saboteur, let's say. Remember, 6th is intuition and higher knowledge, higher understanding, third eye. So for example, the champion might give you some good intuition, but unfortunately it maybe makes you trust your intuition too much, because then the saboteur keeps presenting you with false information, false teachers, fear-based, but you think that it's correct because sometimes the intuition hits are there. So, this is where having the objective and the teacher and the lowering upon it. The champions can't function very well for us while the saboteurs just have a constant food source. Apana is a constant food source. So we really need to starve them, shrink them. We can actually eventually break them. They'll come back if you don't if you let things, go. But we can get our life to being divine life now. That is possible. The human being is made to awaken, to remember fully, experientially, our divinity. There's many people who understand these concepts. They understand unity, consciousness as a concept of one's own divine self and the divinity of all, everything around us. That's possible. We're made as a being to awaken to the truth. That's the consciousness that we have that's different than the other animal nature, which also has consciousness. We didn't know the extent of consciousness in every animal being, of course, but there's something to be said for the human consciousness and its ability to realize itself. And so this process is available to everyone, but it's the most beautiful, grandest success, or success is the wrong word, but it's the most beautiful life you can have. Of course we have to work for it. Of course we do. Some people are born right there, or already there. I don't know what their past lives were, but I know that in this moment, the mountain that each individual is facing, without comparison to anybody else's mountain, that every being is capable of walking this mountain. And I want to help you to do that. So take a look at my website, check out some of the offerings, get the book, check out Shamji's website, the Chakra Institute. I'll link it all in the comments. Make the decision, right? No one can make this decision in your life but you. Have the highest life possible. Divine life now. Thank you.